I'm Stacey Green, the head of marketing and communications for Mashable, and I am really excited to introduce our next speaker, Josh Coppell. Josh is the co-founder and chief creative officer of ScrollMotion, a media and tech company that develops electronic platforms for the world's leading book publishers, children's books, and magazine publishers. This means he's responsible for the creative direction of the company and the technology platform. Josh has done a lot of cool things, among them producing work for AMC, Adult Swim, Comedy Central, and MTV, among others. Now, at Mashable, when we talked about having Josh here to speak to you today, there was a resounding yes, absolutely, because Josh is the type of person who's always up to something awesome. And today he's going to show you a little bit of what he's up to. So please join me in welcoming Josh.
Hi there. Nice to see you today. I'm going to just plug in my iPad. Okay, great. So the whole thing about bringing content onto an iPad is about inspiring it, right? Pages to Pixels is about turning information into inspiration. And that is basically what our company is about. We've built a platform that is basically run the entire table of print media, from textbooks to kids' books to magazines to corporate materials to RSS readers. And today, I thought I would talk very tactically about basically what we call the hockey stick of complexity, right? If you're going to start with the most basic type of media all the way through the most complex type of media, what are the types of things that you can do? And what are the types of decisions that you're going to make about that media? So I thought I would start very simply and get very complex, and then I'll show you something that no one's seen before yet, and that is sort of where we're taking this to some new types of clients. So starting with the most basic, which was actually one of the trends that we talked about today, and it was personalized news sites, right? So RSS, it's about as simple as it gets, right? I have a feed, it updates every minute, every day, and what am I going to do with it? Am I going to go to a Flipboard, or am I going to build my own? Well, we've built something that we call an Rss Reader for the future, and this is an example for a company called Source Media, and essentially what this is a very simple use of an RSS reader, and it is has some very, very easy interactivity, also has whole sorts of articles that you can read, very simple functionality like bookmarking, like sharing. In this case, I'm sharing to a email, but I could just as easily share to Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, the like. All around, I can change the fonts, of course, all living inside basically a very simple navigation. And then on top of that, the ability to also download everything all at once. So, you know, if I'm in a subway, if I'm on the moon, basically every time I make a web contact, every time I basically have a connection, I download everything for the last 15 days. So always having a lot of content with you. Now, what do you do with this? What are some other uses of this type of technology? Well, let's say we're having a conference like this one. Well, this is the same type of experience, but now inside a conference app. So the ability to take this content and add things like headlines, add things like featured reports. So let's imagine for a second that a report that I was giving or a presentation that someone was giving now is portable, is now something that people can take with them. So here we have essentially Outsell is a big brand for CEOs and stuff. This is what we have here is basically the ability to make all that stuff portable. Take it with you, keep it with you. Now, another kind of interesting thing about this is we also have, with the exception of, we also have a whole way of dealing with users and members. So now I'm inside a conference, and now everyone in this conference can be connected because I have things like bios, where I can go and learn about who someone is, talk to them, call them, and also email them directly from the app. So just another way of taking this magic slate and making it actually interact with all the other people in an environment. Okay, now let's move up a level. So no longer RSS. Now I am a graphic kids book publisher. I'm Disney. And now I'm basically in a, now this is essentially pictures plus text. So what I have here is the ability to move around through different little content modules. Everything from things like, arts and crafts.
Ask an adult for help. Make the princess.
We're not going to ask an adult for help. I
Ask an
am an adult. Okay, so now we're learning how to do things. This is graphic content with text. I'm now learning how to make a princess crown, or which is, I think, necessary. Or things like coloring, right? Little modules that we can now bring inside this content so that it can have extra stuff to do. So in this case, I'm gonna basically paint, or thank you. Or things like stickers, which can be done in a lot of different ways, including
Ariel, Aurora,
okay, Snow White, to things like stickers, which become like little paper dress-up dolls, all basically around sort of standard functionality that is essentially pan and scan reading. So in this case, Sesame Street, the ability to essentially move through different types of content on a page to sort of take that simple experience and inspire it simply. Okay, so that is another, so we're moving up the level of complexity. Now we're going to talk about magazines. Now, I just wanted to make a point that all the things I'm showing you are all basically built on top of a single platform, right? So that means that the same thing that is driving essentially the Disney Princess app is also driving Bonfire, right? The RSS app. And we are essentially living in a single platform that can now, with a content sort of framework that can also be pushed out to other types of devices, like from an iPod to an iPad to a Nook Color to a Kindle Fire to an HP touchpad to a Chrome device, a web-enabled Chrome device to a we were actually one of the HP touchpad launch partners. So so it's essentially being able to live across multiple devices with a single publishing solution. So now as we continue, now I'm getting more complex. I'm now going from highly graphic to now graphic and texts living together. So let's start simply. This is a magazine called Commentary, which is which, when you start to think about what magazines look like, this is about as simple as you get from a magazine perspective, right? It's essentially 2 columns of text, right? So being able to make that live in a nice way with simple interaction, so excerpts from books, all living around essentially a very simple table of contents, to with all kinds of different, essentially the RSS version of a, just the most simple way that you can bring this content to life. Now let's go more complex. Let's go into the magazine stand to essentially start looking at some of the other types of things we do. Now I'm in Oprah magazine, right? So now I'm going from essentially text that's laid out to text with lots and lots of multimedia, lots of interaction. So, this includes things like, all the kind of razzle-dazzle that you're seeing in things like Sports Illustrated, things like Esquire. Oprah starts with a really sort of heartfelt discussion or introduction directly to the user. And then lots and lots and lots of video that's integrated into the screen. Again, this uses all the sort of open web standards, things like HTML5, things like and a lot of transitions and interactions that are built directly, natively into the iPad itself. So Maria Shriver, looking happy. Lots of tap interactions. So in this case, tapping to move through different pages and pictures on a page. Lots and lots of use of jQuery. So JavaScript that's sort of bringing nice little interactions as I tap on these things moving in. So just bringing a lot of the love to sort of inspire this content. Very, very traditional and understandable different types of navigation, whether that be article by article or page by page. Nice use of audio, video. So in this case, Suzanne Vega.
As they are kissing their hellos, and I'm pretending not to see them, and instead I pour the milk.
I love that song. In addition, lots and lots of use of slideshows. So in this case, Oprah's journals with all the standard functionality that you'd expect, to beautiful animations, right? I mean, this is a beautiful vessel, right? What can you put in it, right? How can you take a simple layout and inspire it and make it surprising? So with that, also adding things like favoriting, sharing, buying, right? The ability to go and actually open up a web view and I don't know how my connection is, but essentially buy something directly inside that app. Oh, there we go. Great. So, connecting the impulse to essentially an action, a transaction. Okay, so just a couple more things to show in here, and that is things like, just a nice use of things like, here's of course the books. Let's tap to read an excerpt. Let's tap to buy it. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iBooks, Kindle, anything that you want right there. And then let's also bring in interactivity in the sense of, here's a little HTML5 web page that's all about magnetic poetry. So building a framework where you can then bring the types of inspirational words that you would find in an Oprah magazine, but all into essentially a game. So taking essentially, this is the same thing that powered dressing up Snow White, right? This is just stickers, right, on a canvas that's making it happen. Okay, so we're going to now move up one more level of complexity to a textbook, right? And I demonstrated this at the last Mashable convention, and it's actually been some really interesting developments in this since we last were here, and that is that this was for a test of students that where 500 kids in California were given textbooks using essentially being taught only algebra on this device, and they midway through the year they did a California achievement test, and the results were so astounding that the teachers leaked them to the press. And so what I'm telling you is unaudited, but worth mentioning. And it was that kids that used this device, kids that used the regular textbook, because in addition to the 100 kids per class that were using digital textbooks, another 100 kids were using were learning the same exact content, but using a traditional textbook. The kids that were using the traditional textbook scored in the 60% proficiency range in algebra, and the kids that were using this textbook scored in the 90% proficiency range. So, whoa. like a huge, huge change in engagement, a huge change in interaction, all based on bringing a little bit of inspiration to the information. And here's how, right? This is a classic example. I'm a bad math student. I look at this and I think, oh, Jesus, math is unfair. Because it's incredibly visually complex. But what you have here is you have, on one side, you have the problem being solved. On the other side, you have the explanation of it. But for a non-traditional learner, this is almost impossible. So what we did was we took it and we basically brought a little bit of interaction to it. And that is a step-by-step way of solving the problem, so that a student is never really thinking about where they're about to be. They're only focusing on where they are. And then adding to that things like video, of course, world's greatest math professor, Dr. Berger, or quizzing, with all connected to a cloud, all allowing a teacher to get a real-time understanding of how their class is performing right away. Okay, so everything that you've seen before has been in the world, people have seen. What I'm about to show you is where we're going, is the next thing that we're doing. And it occurred to us that after doing all this content, that after making all this stuff, that we had run the entire table of print media. And that the next place to go was to give this technology to corporations. To corporations. Darkness. There we go. Are we going to? Oh, there. Well, okay, good. All right. So now you're seeing that one of the largest purchasers of iPads are corporations, and they're arming their entire sales forces with these devices because this is a magical device. So what you have here is, first of all, a secure login, right? So I'm working in a company. I'm at a certain level. I'm only allowed to see certain things. Working for magazines taught us how to do permission-based logins, right? But I also have to plug in to APIs that people are already using, things like Salesforce.com, right? So I'm going to plug into Salesforce. I'm going to let the mothership know who I'm selling to. Suddenly starting to close the loop of how much people know about what we're doing. That now lives inside a bookshelf, which is more green on the screen than normally, but a bookshelf, right? And a bookshelf that now basically can download content directly onto it. So someone never is in the field and not having exactly what they need. And bringing that level of interactivity to a device like this, to a sales presentation, and taking it out of PowerPoint land, bring it into an experience that is actually interactive, where I'm showing you stuff and we're telling you stuff, and it becomes a two-way conversation instead of a single conversation. So in this case, watching an engine move, or tap interactions to basically to explain better what I'm doing, bringing the love, the magic to corporate America. And then creating transaction at the end of the experience. So I've now finished the sales call, and I'm now in a place where I can, where I'm basically, I have this ability to transact business at the end of it. So I'm getting a sample. I'm getting more information. I can sign it. Hit submit. The request goes to the cloud. We call this paperwork minus the paper and the work. In addition, I also have things like live charts and graphs. So this is a really amazing piece of CSS that is essentially running live charts and graphs that can be connected to a cloud, so they can be a live dashboard that's really interactive and really fun, but also fixed and canned stuff that lives inside the material. I also have additional materials, so I have things like PDFs if I need them, right? So I'm never far away from the materials that I need when I'm in the world, when I'm on a sales call. And this is, of course, stuff like, a PDF, things like videos, and then, of course, the ability to go and engage all this stuff, any of the materials that I want when I want them. I also have things like integration to Skype or FaceTime, right? You're never on your own when you have a connected device. So, if I need to ask an expert, if someone's asking me a question that is way above my pay grade, I can just hit ask an expert and I can connect to a web service, whether that be FaceTime or Skype, and actually get to someone that is going to help me continue and make that sale. And then finally, and which is the most important thing, reporting, right? These are connected devices, right? I have the ability to connect to all my business intelligence tools, whether that be Salesforce, and I'm trying to see how well people are actually selling, or internal analytics. So what is the piece of content that is the most used inside my Salesforce? Like, of all the things that my people are selling, what page are they spending the most time on? Is that because it is so amazing, there's such a fun interaction that people just want to spend time there? Or is that because it is so unbelievably complex that no one can even explain it, right? That type of information is going to change everything about how organizations sell their services and sell their products. And this is just another new part of the suite of services that we're selling. And we are Scroll Motion. Thank you so much, Mashable, for having us today.